Hi students, welcome to the lesson on interval notation. Alright, so the interval, or this notation you've been using in the past for certain intervals would be set notation. And what we're going to learn today is interval notation. So things that you've been using before were larger than, smaller equal than, things like that to represent intervals. So for example, the set notation of this example, here we have everything between -4 and 3. Okay, so we have the numbers between -4 and 3. So for our set notation, it would simply be anywhere from -4, and let's use x as our variable. X is larger than -4 and smaller than 3. Notice that it's not equal to -4 and 3 because these are open dots. These are holes. So because we do not include those points, we do not include them. So we would be larger or equal than. Alright, so for interval notation, it's actually quite easy. Since we're going from -4 to 3, all we would simply state is from -4 to 3. Pretty simple, right? So anything between -4 and 3 counts. Notice the brackets we use. We used round brackets. This actually looks a lot like a point, which could be mistaken for that. I could totally understand. But here, when we're giving an interval, we're going to use this round brackets to represent that this -4 and this 3 are not included in the solution. Okay, so what if, example 2, what if we included the two endpoints? So we're going to go from -4 to 3, but included. So our set notation would look like from -4 smaller or equal to the x, which is smaller or equal to 3. So another way to write that would be x is smaller than 3, or equal to 3, and x is larger or equal to -4. So that's a combination of that. For our interval notation, we're simply going to write from -4 to 3. Okay, so again, notice the brackets. This time I'm including the values of -4 and 3. So I have these square brackets facing the numbers. So including -4, including 3, and everything in between. Alright, what if I just go one direction? So we're saying x, or the value, variable, is smaller than -4. So that would be pretty easy, right? X is smaller or equal to -4. Okay, so again, equal to because the dot is full. Alright, so for interval notation, we're saying we have to start all the way there and we have to go to -4. Well, if we go all the way there, that basically goes to -infinity. So that's what we're going to write here. We're going to write from -infinity all the way to -4, and we include -4. Okay, so notice we didn't include -infinity. The reason we don't include -infinity because this is not an actual number. So you can't include this value since you could continue going, what's -infinity minus 1? -infinity minus 2. So you can keep actually going. So this is just the idea that you keep going forever this direction, and we won't include -infinity because it is not a number. We're going to include -4, well, because we're including -4 with that dot. Alright, example 4. We're going from -infinity all the way to -5. We're going to include -5. And then we go from 2 all the way to infinity. So, you would write this as x is smaller or equal to -5. And you would also say it is larger or equal to 2. Okay, so there are probably more than one way to write this, but technically x is smaller or equal to 5 and larger or equal to 2. You could notice that you could flip those around and you could say x is larger or equal to 2 and smaller or equal to -5. That would definitely be the same thing. So again, you make it in reference to x. So x is smaller or equal to -5, larger or equal to 2. So these two are saying the same thing. Okay, so for interval notation, okay, so this one's a little bit different. We're gonna call this a union of two different sets of numbers. So we're gonna go from -infinity, so -infinity all the way to 5. Sorry, -5, and we include -5, right? So notice I just made a mistake. We were not supposed to include 2 at all. So this should have been larger than 2 and larger than 2. Okay, because of not including the 2 here. Okay, so we go from -infinity to -5, and then we're going to union, so that's what this u here is going to be, and we're going to union this with from 2 to infinity. Okay, and notice that I don't include both the negative infinity and positive infinity, and I would include negative 5 and not include 2 because of the dots included and not included because of the hole. Alright, for the last example, I'm giving y equals to 2x plus 3. Well, y equals 2x plus 3, I want to give the domain and range of this. Okay, so the domain of this example here is all the possible values of x. Well, notice that I could insert any possible value of x in there. Okay, so since I can put in any value of x, so you'd be allowed to put in x equals negative 1,000, negative 1, 2, 7, doesn't matter. Any one of those values of x would be part of the group. Therefore, we would say from negative infinity to infinity, because we would count every single possible number. Alright, the range. Well, for the range, I think you have to understand what this graph looks like a little bit. So this is a linear graph, okay, and it goes up, it looks something like this. Okay, so notice that all the possible x values are there, but notice that because it's a line, so any linear function would also have a range of negative infinity to infinity. Because if you look at all the possible values of y, every single one of them would be included. So the range in our case, negative infinity to infinity. Again, I do not include the infinity values because they are just an idea, they're not exact numbers. Alright, so now domain and range of this one. Okay, this one's a little bit more restrictive. Notice for the domain, those are the possible values of x. We'll have anything between negative 1 and 5. Okay, so this is a circle. So all the values between negative 1 and 5, we're going to have values for the domain. So we're going to say everything between, not negative 1, positive 1. Take that back. Everything between 1 and 5. Alright, for the range, we have everything between negative 2 and 2. So here the range would be from negative 2 to 2. Again, this is all in interval notation. Alright guys, good luck. I hope that kind of made sense and you understand what interval notation is.